Hi everyone, thank you for joining us on this cat demonstration. My name is Stephen Bradley,
And I'm Colin Bradley.
and before we move on to this cat demonstration, I thought we'd just introduce it just ever so quickly and just talk a little bit about how this picture came about and why, Dad, that you chose to do this specific demonstration, this specific subject.
Well, I first of all, I've got to say that I did the whole cat to start with, and it was very successful. But when I looked at it, I thought, I'm sure if I took a section of it, just the eye and the fur, which I was particularly pleased with, and then pinpoint that, people will appreciate it. And they don't have the worry then of being able to produce a whole animal. And they can practice it, and if it doesn't work out, they could do it again and again and again until they get the idea. This is what we want to do. We want people to relax when they do something like this, and I'm sure you'll succeed.
Excellent. Well, without further ado, let's move on to the demonstration.
Hello, I'm Colin Bradley. I'm going to show you how I produce this cat's ear, cat's eye, and the fur surrounding it on this demonstration. Now, it is a demonstration, so I'm not going to be labouring it, but what I'm going to do first of all is what I've started doing here. So let me show you what I've done there. I've got I've used the white first of all, there, that's just this bit here. I'm not doing all of this, I'm cutting some of this off. And then I've used the ivory here, for this section here. And I'm going to continue that up there in a minute. But anyway, let me get this dark colour in now. This is the 233 I'm using, but any grey will do. Now what we're doing now is bringing this in here. Start off by just, you see there's a little bit of orange there. So let's build that up a little. I'm not going to labour this too much. I'm just going to show you the basic sort of setup that we've got now. There's another bit of there, but not much. So I'm going to put a bit of grey in here. Like that. And then I'm going to put a bit of ivory in. Now the ivory is the base colour for the orange, so we just put a little bit of that in there like that. Okay, and I'm going to carry on with the grey. Now the grey will come in to the eye area. I'm not going to do the eye yet, but I want to put all this surrounding. Now can come down. I always work, even though I'm putting base colours on and we'll be putting dark colour on top, I always work in the direction of I see the fur lying in. Now this is really, really important. You'll hear me, if you watch some of my videos, you'll hear me say that all the time. Direction of fur. That's critically important when you're doing something like this. Now that's got that in there, and I should be putting the ochre in. That'll be the next colour I'll use in a minute. But I'm going to do the rest of this, and I'll show you little bits of that as we go along. But I'll just start off with this area here. This is the orange again. Now, I'm only going to go up to that bit. I'm not going to show you that bit, so it'll be cut off there. I might just put that white in at the top there, because there's a white band that runs across there. Like that. Might as well follow the reference picture, mightn't I? And then the ivory goes in and it goes all the way around there. Now here we've got one little thing I've got to do before I start. I'm going to put the white in there on this edge. Now, ordinarily, if I was doing a picture now, I'd be erasing some of this, but I'm not going to do it here. Now the reason for that is that I don't want that to show through on my picture. That's all that. Now, why did I do it? Well, of course, I'm going to put the ivory in. Now, the problem is there, you could have those two light colours coming together. Mix the ivory with the white. You can just see the outline, but actually, if I put that white right onto the top edge there, you'll be able to see it better like that. And that will continue over here in a minute. Anyway, I'm not going to, as I say, labour it too much. I'm just going to show you the idea behind all of this. It's a practice. You can do it yourself if you want to do this demonstration. It's a good idea. It gets you in enough information to start work on your own pictures. So let's got that in there, okay, and I'm going to do the rest of it. And what I should do now, just this little bit round here. Now that is very, very much lighter than that. So what I would do there is I would put the white in, as I've showed you, like that. That will go in. But when it comes to that bit, I'm going to put a bit of white on that now. Strong white here because we want it to be very solid. So that'll be strong white there. But something like this, it's a good idea to still put the white in because it lightens it up. Ivory would, but this will give you just that bit of extra, like that. So that's solid, that isn't. So therefore I should now put the ivory on that, which will give it just a little bit of lightening effect. Makes it easier to put the lighter colour in here, there, as it is in a little darker there. I hope that makes sense. There you go. That's the idea. So let me carry on with that. I'll show you little bits as I fill all this up. But I'm going to fill it all up. I'm going to get down to there. I shan't be doing the bottom. In fact, what I better do, I better just take that bit off. Otherwise you'll think, oh, what's she doing there then, Colin? It's about there, I think. So I'll tape it off. That way we can, if I can, there we are. I'm not too fussy about that. And therefore I should bring it down to there. This is a little bit bigger than that is. That's the reason this looks a bit smaller. But it still gives us the idea we want. So let me carry on. I've almost finished that. Now, when you get to an area like that, because the dark colour going on top of the white is going to be difficult for you to put the white back. Can do it, but it's not easy. So I'm just making just a little bit more headway here, putting the white just a bit further into that dark colour. So I can then bring the grey, but more importantly, the dark colour I'm going to be using on top of that. You'll see all that in a minute. But that will do. That's fine. Okay. Now, while I've got the white in the hand here, these hairs in the ear, that's quite important to put them in because we're going to be putting lots and lots of colour in here. And white is quite hard to put on top of the stronger, darker colours. As I said, you can do it, and you'll see me do it. I'm going to finish that off in a minute. I don't have to finish this off as long as you establish where you want the white hairs to go. Okay, that's fine. Now, next colour is the ochre. I'm going to leave the ear and the eye just for the moment because I want to build these up. This is the ochre. This is 287. This is the colour I use for this. This is part of an original picture. I'll show you that at the end of the video. Now it comes up here. We want to keep that white there this time. Once again, work in the direction we see the hair lying in. We get to the top. Leave that little bit of white at the top there. And we can come back on that. And here we can come in, cover that graphite line up. And you can already see the idea of this. It's got to be stronger than that, and I'll show you in a minute how I get that. That comes in, and then we've got the dark colour here. Well, I put a little bit of dark in, and that sets it up for me. A little bit on here, like that. Now, I don't want any more at the moment. I think I've got that strong enough. You see the direction of first, so important. And I'm going to do the same here. And there's a little tiny bit here I should show you. Put it in. If this was a commission that I was doing, then you would need to put in all those little tiny little details. Now here's where I put the bit of white and bit of ivory in, didn't I? Now I'm going to finish this off for you now. This little bit. It's a little bit lighter because of the white and the ivory inside it. But what we can do then is bring the ivory back again and weaken it still further. And if you want it even weaker, you can bring the white back in as well. So what you get is close to that. Like that. Now that won't have anything else on there. That will be finished. So I'm going to do all of this now. And again, I'll be showing you little bits of that. Just before I do that, you see how we've got the streaks there? Well, if you've got one of these, you can use it. If you haven't, you could use a cotton bud. I've got one over here. Look, I could use that. In fact, I'll use that as well. Not a cotton bud, sorry. A shaper. You could use a cotton bud though, in fairness. That would work as well. But these paper blenders are quite good. That's what I'm looking for. But one of these is better because it's got a softer end to it. Once again, working in direction. We see the hairline. We see how it covers up much, much better. Like that. Okay, and I could do a little bit here. It wouldn't have to be too strong though, but by putting that in, it just blends it, makes it more like that. All right, into there. So I'm going to carry on with this, It's white down here, white down there, but the rest of it, in fact, there is a little bit here. I might show you that too. Put a bit of white on top of there because that would be a little lighter before I actually start using that. Now, staying on the ochre, I'm going to use another colour. This is 283. This is a stronger colour. If you press hard, you'll end up with that, and that's what we don't want. But because we're going on top of those lighter tones, and we keep blend it very, very lightly, no real strength to it, we can also put it in there as well, giving that rather nice look. And then using the colour shaper again, now you watch it change colour. It's a little stronger, you see. I did use more colours as well. I can show you that too. This is not that one, Colin. That one. 189 as well. I'll show you that too. I'll put a little bit of that in. And see how that changes it again to more or less the same colour as that. Okay, that's more or less it. Now down here, I'm not going to bother with that anymore, but just here we're going to come in with, now this is the 187 again. Now you saw what I did there, I did put it on the white, but you'll see in a second or two how I actually do that. You don't put it here, you want that to be pink. In fact, I use another pink for that. I've just remembered, and I can show you that too. And that's it. It's a lot lighter here until it jumps into there. And then you use the colour shaper again and again. You push that colour into that so it colours it a bit. Like that. And with this time, with the 283, I'm going to make it just a little darker, just in one section of that. Try to bring that as close as I can to what I've done there. You see how important the direction of fur is too when you see this. And again, blending. There you go. And if you really wanted that to be a lighter, you just come back with the white. It's a feature of the animal, so why not follow that? I can come back in again, and we can maybe just twiddle that a bit, make it a little bit less obvious, like that. Down there now, that can be just a little stronger with the 283, and we can put a little bit of grey on too as well, which makes it look as close to that as I can get. Right. Now, what about that? This is where we get just a bit trickier. I'm going to use this colour, which is 181. Remember, we had nothing else underneath it, just that and this. But you see there's ochre in there. What I did then is I used, on top of the grey, I used this colour, which is 187, which I've been using here, and I put that in, like that. It was just a little bit of colour, which I felt was rather nice. It also dropped into here as well. You can just pick that up now, as I'm showing you. And just to make absolutely sure, I put a bit of ivory on. Now, normally you work from light to dark, but you can, once you get used to using the pencils, do what I'm doing now. Put it in top, and you see how that's almost getting that colour that I want. But this will get it 181. You could use black, but I would not suggest it here. I'd use something like that. Now here, I'm going to show you how we can start, especially there. Look, just a touch of this. Not much, just a little. And then we blend it. If it doesn't work, you do it again. But that now is better. But you see, we've got to come back into that. And this is where it gets just a bit trickier. Still following the direction of fur that we can see. And that comes down to there. We'd be doing the eyes separately. Now, come out now, leaving some of that colour, like that. I'm using the side of the point of the pencil. You could use the point, but it'd take too long. And you get a much softer look to it if you do it like I'm showing you. Now here, again, not quite the same. And we can use a colour shaper to put that in. Same here, just there, just a little bit there. You see how that colour is showing through? When you come to the edge, be a little bit more careful, a bit more care. In here, it's a little trickier because now I am using the point. I'm going to bring in the white back on top of this in a little while. There we are. And then this is a little bit more important because we've now got to work into that white which I was talking about earlier. Now I should finish that off now. And that's more or less it. I wouldn't bother with any more of that. So what we're going to do now is work on the ear. Now the ear. Bit of ivory on top of that, just to colour that a little. Now in here, I'm going to use the grey. What's that called? You'll see why in a minute. This can come back into the white. And because we've already established that white, and we'll be putting more in as well, it will still retain its brightness, as you can see from that. Now that's going to be fairly strong. I'm going to come down the edge of there. And there's a stronger line there. So what I'm going to do there is use a grey. Grey. This is 233, which is a slightly darker grey, which we used. Bring that back in there. And that can also go back into here, but much, much lighter. So I'll be putting pink and ochre in there in a minute. Colour shaper. And it just makes it sure you get that as smooth as you can. There we are. And now the pink. Now the pink I'm using here is the 189. Where's the here is 189. I did. No, let's show you. I did use that one on the original 132. So let's do that first. It's not going to take a lot to do, but the 189 is just that little bit stronger, as you'll see in a sec. You see, we're getting really close to that colour now. And in here, grey and pink work beautifully together. You can see that already, how that's working. Come back again into that. You're losing all the white, Cole. Don't worry about that. We'll be bringing all that back again in a minute. Now, this one, which is the 189. Now this is, you'll see this, I'll do half of it and you can see how much stronger it is if you use that. See? Particularly here. And again, I'm coming back into the dark colour a little bit there as well. But you see how much darker that is? How'd you get that, Cole? How'd you get that? You know, this is very, very difficult to do, so be careful. 181. See what it does here? Well, what's it going to do in here? As long as you're light with it and not a lot of pressure, I'll just do a little bit to show you. But because we've got all those other colours on there, this is not being as strong as it otherwise would be. A bit. Bring it back into here, which we used before, and we're getting that colour almost perfectly. And here, be really, really careful. But you'll see if you didn't use it, you wouldn't get that strength. Back in here, I'm not going to bother to clean that off. And you can see now I've got that really, really nice. Completely destroyed my white, as you can see, but it's still there. That's the important thing, and we can pick it up later on. So that's almost perfect. However, what about that edge? Well, I'm going to use this colour, which is 283 here. I used this on the original But more importantly, to come down here, because it hasn't got a white edge to it. But again, because it's going on top of all those other colours, it's changing tone. I don't think I want any darker than that, but if you did, you could just put more strength on. And if you overshoot, like I've done there a little bit, you come back with the white and pick it up like that. It's not a bad idea just to put just a little bit of white on there as well, just to make it that little bit sharper. Now, what about that? Let me turn it round and I can show you what we can do. What we're looking at is that. What I also recommend you do, if you're using, I'll just get a bit of card, cover the bottom of it up. Otherwise you're going to put your finger or hand all over it. It's not a lot to worry there, but here we're going to make sure I've got the right one, because it looks the same, doesn't it? And you can bring that back in, and the white can go back in, doing whatever you want it to do. I'm using PastelMat paper, which is a very responsive paper. It allows you to do that sort of thing. I don't think I want to do any more. See how that looks. Really good, doesn't it? Now, I am going to clean it off. Let me show you how I do that. Get as much off with your thumb and your finger, but you won't get it all off. But how I do it is I do that in the palm of my hand. The oil from my hand works like a little lubricative. Look at that. And then we just, here we don't want to lose it altogether, but we want to just soften it. You see how soft that is? Watch. And that can come back in there again to mould into what we've got there. There you go. There you are. Now, the jolly old eye. Now that's quite hard to do because first of all we've got to put the lights in the eye. So let's do that before we start. Bit of light. And then I'm going to put the colour in. Now the colour I'm going to be using here is this one, 230. Well, it's green, Colin. I know it's green. But if you put green directly on there, these are the colours I'm going to be using, it'd be too bright, too vivid. So what we want to do here is use the grey again to soften. Now what I'm not going to do is the pupil. I could, but I want to keep that really strong. There you go. And the pupil using 233. You could even just use the 181, which I'm going to put on in a minute. Here we are. Now, what about that surround? I'm going to use this again, but I can't use that because it's blunt. So I'm going to sharpen that up. Then I can put that in. My 181 is sharp enough, which will follow it. But that has got to be sharpened. Back in the mo. Right. 233. I brought you nice and close now, so you can witness this in much more detail. Extend it slightly and come in like that. Now I never draw it, I create it. What I mean by that is do it in little bits like I'm doing. That way you get it better shape. If you try drawing it, you'll go wrong. Come off there, make sure that we've got a nice thing. Incidentally, you see that? That bit looks very close to that. Not quite the same because, again, we've got slightly different colours. But what I did there is I used my colour shaper to just make it more fluffy. And you can come back in with the white again, which I shall do before I finish, and put a bit more white back in. And keep going until you get it as you want it. Anyway, now that's the 233. Now the 181. Go around those lights. And then now here you really do have to be very positive. Otherwise it won't work. In other words, press a bit harder. But still, the same idea, create it. Like that. A little bit of detail there would be rather nice. Like that. Now, next colour, green. What I'm using here is 170, sorry. Put a bit of green in there on top of the grey. Now, if I didn't do that, this green would be like that, a bit too strong. But because we've got the grey underneath it, it softens it. The other thing it does is that grey, particularly that colour, is a soft colour. So it gives us a lovely surface in which to work. It's green. Now, I did use 3. Let's put it all of them. This is 168. And this is a greener colour, 267. You'll see the difference that makes. You might think, oh, that's a bit dark now, Colin, compared with that. It is, but it won't be in a minute. That looks good. Now, next, you can bring the white back. Make sure you got the white in the eye nice and strong though. That makes all the difference. It's nice to have a bit of texture in the eye as well, not make it all dark. Let's get that pretty close to what I've got on the picture. So just a little bit more like that. Finally, 181 again. Just making sure that we get that like that. And the other thing you can do, if you haven't got one of these, you can't do it. But what I usually do here is go back over and just put a little bit of texture, smoothness to it. Like that. And then we can bring back the white. Or the pink. Let's use the pink. Get the right pink, Colin. There you go. That will give us the pretty close to that original there. Bit more strength there, the eyelid itself. So what I'm going to do is make that little bit extra weight there. And there we go. It's good, doesn't it? Where's my pink? I'm not going to spend any more time on it. I've given you all the information that is necessary, really. But as I said, if you want to do this picture, you can. Let's just put a little bit more. I was going to show you this tip, wasn't I? And I didn't do it. I showed you it there. Well, it just fluffs up the edges, which is nice because it softens the edge of the fur then. Some white back, come the other way. There we are. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. One other little thing I just thought I would show you. Just here, we've got a bit of grey in there. Well, I've used the 230 on the original picture. And I put 230 in. And I also put a little bit of ivory in as well. And what that does, it gives it a nice... Don't want to put dark colours on there, Colin. So get rid of as much as you can. There you go. And then pull that back. It just brings it a bit more tone to it. And then the white. And that would be dark. Well, I might as well do that while I'm waiting, because that's where are we? Here you go. No, it's not. There it is. It's the ochre. I was tempted to put dark, but it's not. It's this colour again. So that can come in. Blend it. Pick up the old earroll, which has now been interfered with. Bring that back. And then you can turn it round again, put the white back, make it floppier. We'll do that as well. Only come in back in with this one, like that. There you go. Well, as I say, hope you've enjoyed it. There's lots more demonstrations I'm doing. And don't forget, I'm going to show you the original cat too, which I did, which is lovely. Well, this is the original cat that was done, and I think you'll agree it looks really good. I spent a lot more time on this than I did on that, but at least you've got an idea of how it all works. See you again sometime on another dem. Bye for now.
Well, that's it. Thank you so much for watching this demonstration. I hope you found that really interesting. As Dad mentioned in the beginning, if you'd like to learn how to do the whole animal and take one of our online courses, all you've got to do is go to colinbradleyart.com and sign up. We have lots of free courses to get you started, but you can also learn how to do this picture over there. And if you have any other requests for demonstrations that you'd like to see on YouTube, then Dad, you've said you're more than happy to take those requests.
Absolutely, and I'm sure you'll agree with me that it wasn't quite so intimidating as it would have been if you'd done the whole animal. Give it a go.
Excellent. All right, we'll leave it there for this demonstration. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you next time.